And now we should be live momentarily on the YouTube stream side. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the bit of a late start, but these literally just came in, and you'll forgive us for being gigantic dorks for memorial-sized swords.
Yeah.
Especially ones that just completely light up. That's enough of that. And that's enough for that for now. Like, I was just doing it as an example of the entire blade lighting up.
In public.
We'll play with it more later.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah. Final and debut mecha. This is basically the definition of put them all together, or stuff that only shows up after the midway point in the series that the entire team uses. So, late and 6th Ranger mechs, already did them because that's the 6th Ranger list. Auxiliary mecha that one person primarily pilots, already did that. That means that series like Kira Major, who had Grateful Phoenix, which Grateful Phoenix was an auxiliary mech by our list, is not here. But everything else, everything for multi-combination stuff, as long as it's not a crossover, because we did that in the movie debut stuff, is here. Except for Boon Boonger, because Boon Boonger is still ongoing, even though Boon Boon Robo Champion has debuted, and this last week saw its Leon Rescue customization form, which is not a true higher tier combination beyond just Champion, it's just using the weapons, which I'm disappointed because the DX toy, you can't actually combine them. And the mini pluff for them literally just released. It's in shipping for me, so I can see whether we can actually do it with the mini pluff in the next week-ish. This list is also a week later than we wanted to do it because I was completely exhausted by overtime at work last week, so sorry, you had to wait. But yeah, you can see the Hair Death. Hey Desk, question, would you be willing to do a Sentai PR grunt tier list? I've already said 3 times no. Like, literally, that has been asked repeatedly in these lists. Okay, so, starting off, Very Dean from the tail end of Go Ranger. Technically the first final, debut mecha. First final, it sounds like an oxymoron. But yeah, the first time they swapped over to any other type of mecha in it within a given series, and it was in the final sect of Go Ranger, so it technically counts for this list.
I didn't even know this thing existed.
Most people don't. I honestly think it looks a bit better, but it doesn't have the iconography.
Right, it's, like, okay, it's hard to, we can't really judge this thing too harshly, because, like, this was the 70s, and
this was before giant robots in live action, outside of stuff like King Joe in Ultra 7, were really being done.
Yeah, so I think I want to put it in acceptable, because it's, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't do anything particularly wrong. And then onto the image slideshow. Super Turbo Builder.
Big Chungus.
Yeah, final debut by our definition, or Ultimate Mecha, would not actually show up until the 13th Sentai series.
Which is kind of insane when you think about it.
Yeah. It's a beefy carrier that it's their base that folds up, and then everything that would be stored in it just goes back to being stored in it.
Honestly, I mean, it's not bad, but I think it's way too chunky.
It'd be the problem with a lot of the base robos, but honestly, for a first debut, it looks like it looks like a toy, but not in a bad way, because it reminds me of some of the block base carriers that would show up in the Brave series and Transformers. I think a bit later than this, actually. So this was more representative of where the age would go.
I would think acceptable then, because, you know...
Like, Golden Girls actually has a good point here. First Ultimate is just a Fortress Robo. That's a fair point.
Yeah, that is a very fair point. Can I move that slightly so you can put me... Thank you.
Yeah, it's acceptable because it's really the first time they tried to do and put them all together thing, beyond obviously Super Life Robo, which was different because it was meant to be mobile.
Yep.
Well, mobile.
Oh, and Media Hood says it kind of reminds me of Metroplex with the shoulder pylons.
It does, and Metroplex was earlier, but that's more a city base former instead of like base. Like this is supposed to be within a city. Metroplex is supposed to be a city.
Yep.
Okay, Max Magma.
Oh God.
Here's the thing. This is actually better proportioned, but it's because Five Man itself was such a series that this thing did not sell. We brought this up when we talked about auxiliary mecha because we put both of these style of base robos in there because they kind of had to count there to be included on the list for the ultimate
but it's
combination.
It's kind of a shame that it is the way it is. But like it's sold poorly. But honestly, for what it is, I think it looks pretty hype.
I honestly think it looks a bit better than Super Turbo Builder.
Yeah, like definitely, I would definitely put it would you put it in acceptable or hype?
I think it's still acceptable, but definitely in between these two.
Yeah.
Okay, and as I have to bring it up, Jetman does not have a final or ultimate mecha combination. You can technically do one in the Mini-Pla by docking Tetra Boy as in its canon mode to Great Icarus. But you can't. That wasn't in the show.
In regards to Max Magma, Kamen Rider Blackman said it's Super Galaxy Mega's father.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong.
Yeah, but here's the classic
hype.
Alternate Daidujin / the Ultra Zord. It's the fucking chariot.
Yeah, it's like it is the ancient warrior god on its mighty steed, draped in the armor of a dragon, charging into battle and just firing all the lasers.
The only way it could be better is if the claws of King Brachion it wears would allow it to still wield the sword.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, come on. It's the classic. You know what I mean?
Like I actually have mine posed with Brachion still having his forepaws, so Ultimate Daizujin can wield its weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't go lower than this and be
a
good ultimate combination. Like realistically, you can, but there is a reason that anytime I do an ultimate combination of Sentai Mecha, because in the Mini-Pla and SMP line, I see if it can fit in King Brachion because that chariot is just a perfect display piece.
Yeah.
I actually, when I first got King Odra, I actually had him did a little picture strip of King Odra kicking Daizujin out of its ride and hijacking it because I feel like that'd be something Gira would do.
I had Futaba ride mine.
You have Futaba riding the big Gal Lion.
Well, right now, but like she also rode King Brachion.
Peter reviews. Am I the only one who hates the original Ultra Zord? There's just too much going on. I can see that as a complaint because these are based on 90s toys because it can be slimmed down, it can be rearranged, and it's kind of silly that King Brachion's tail splits into cannons and suddenly has wheels because Zyuranger was not thinking about how ancient civilization with mechanical machine gods that take the form of machine beasts would realistically work as this. Everybody else that does a chariot better justifies it. Okay. Heavy Armored Chi Palace from Die Ranger and MMPR Season 2.
Tired.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one of those hot takes from Die Ranger. Die Ranger has a lot of great mecha, but for a final combination,
this don't work.
This does not work in any capacity. In fact, it makes everything feel lesser as a result because, sure, the Tiger Zord is hiding inside the turtle, which is then I'm not even sure what the idea behind all this was because at the end of the day, this thing's grand move is just squishing you.
Yeah, and I got these when I was a kid because Power Rangers hype and I liked the mecha. But this was kind of the weak point where it was so easy to have the top part come free from the bottom part and just not work. Like, I liked the hide it in the turtle thing, but even right now with my SMP, the mounting bracket for the top part allows you to raise it up so you can open the turtle shell and have one tiger be visible. And I like that over what they did here.
Right. And it's just not. Yeah, it's just not good.
I think it would be better if it's instead of the fly up and drop down, its finishing move would have been overcharging the cannons. Like, do what they would do later with a bunch of mecha and have them open their mouths and fire a beam out of their mouths in a concentrated burst. And one Tiger's own six Ranger abilities combined with the Daimugen's power is just overcharging everybody, so they have to release it in a massive blast wave. But
yeah,
even then, the special effects style of the day with computer effects really wouldn't allow them to have done it as well that way.
Before it was the style at the time.
Honestly, one of Ranger's weaknesses. Okay. Kakure Daishogun. This is where we start to have the true sense of a final debut mecha, as in a mecha that releases late into the show's series that is still something that puts everything together in individual blocks that everybody can pilot.
And honestly, this was one of the bigger shockers when I first started getting into Super Sentai, that this was the final mecha and the Muteki Shogun was the first mecha.
Because it's the slim puncher versus the buff blade wielder.
Right, because you would think it'd be the other way around, right?
Yeah.
But no,
But then you get into the sense of ninja. Actually, buff is less effective for them. They can be stronger when they're swifter.
Right, and honestly, I remember the arc leading up to the debut of this thing, and it was pretty well executed, so it was, I think it's fine on its own,
Yeah, I'd say bottom of hype. I have a lot of good memories of this one simply because I got it first, and I like the aesthetic. The colored limbs is always gonna mess with that, but it's also one of the few times where they have these mecha where, think about it, the Red Ranger, the protagonist hero, even if they're not the leader, is an arm, not the core body.
Right.
How often does that happen?
Yeah, Tsuruhime is the head. Is on top.
Yeah, because she is the actual big boss leader of that team, and that is awesome for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it is aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah,
all the way around.
But wait, there's more.
And then it gets better with just adding the wing pack.
Super Kakure Daishogun.
Even here, color balance aesthetically, this works perfectly.
I would put this on. Yeah, this is definitely better. Way better.
Yeah.
It's that additional wing pack. I feel like this fits way better than it does on Muteki Shogun.
Yeah, I'm debating.
I would say that's fine for right now, but we are going to have to swap. We know there's going to be more hype things coming.
Yeah, my only issue here is just that with how they use Tsubasa Maru in this is Kakure Daishogun can't take advantage of the gun ports. And that kind of proves itself an issue when, at the finale of the series, they have to swap back to Muteki Shogun to actually utilize their cannons for finishing stuff up. And to be fair, being able to utilize the earlier mecha and show that it's not just a power difference, it's an ability difference, I like that. I like when Sentai does that, and to keep everything relevant. It's just you feel like the stronger thing should be able to utilize everything.
Right.
Moving on. King Pyramider Carrier Formation.
I mean, it was definitely in that era of, I guess, if we can make it into a carrier, we'll make it into a carrier.
I think it's in the logic of, this thing is a giant brick, let's try and make it have more utility than just a brick.
Then, in that regards, I can kind of see it from, an ancient civilization standpoint. Imagine if you were back in the day and, there was a climatic battle going on, and then this thing is rolling onto the field with, cannons on high, guardian beasts guarding the front gates with the main pilot in the back, you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, Toei's issues of screwing over O-Ranger happen with everything in this, and it makes less logical sense that an alien spaceship that takes the form of a pyramid, excuse me, Stargate reference, ends up being able to act as a chariot for a mecha that was made on Earth. Now, this kind of makes more sense in Zeo because they were built based on the Zeo powers, and the Gold Ranger for that team also was based on an offshoot of the Zeo powers, so you could see them reconfiguring their mech to be able to accommodate them, because that's what they end up doing anyways. But original Sentai, they basically skip over trying to really explain it, because unfortunately, with how the series was screwed over, trying to explain anything was kind of pointless. So yeah, it's tail end of acceptable. Actually, no, top of uninspired.
Top of uninspired, yeah.
Because it's trying to do a thing, it's just not succeeding as well as the prior Chariots.
Oh, but...
Oh, blocker. No, I fucking love this thing.
No, it is another definition. If there's one thing O-Ranger and Zeo had going for it, was that mecha designs were mainly top tier.
No, absolutely top tier. Like, if you look at Sentai earnings, O-Ranger still tops everybody.
Yeah.
I'm serious on this.
Can you imagine a mini-play of this thing?
Yeah, with its only rivals being Kyoryuger and Gokaiger to date.
Yeah, and it's not hard to see why, because if you want to, like, throughout all these lists, we've seen combinations where it feels like a bunch of parts are slapped together with no thought of how they actually come together. Here, it is a bunch of shapes that you wouldn't think would actually go together, and yet they all form into something cohesively satisfying.
Where you can still see the numbers and shapes theme for this core Sentai represented throughout the mech. And here's the other thing, which very, very few Sentai mech actually achieve. It's symmetrical.
Yeah.
It is perfectly symmetrical. The shapes are the same on both sides.
Which is insane to think about. Like, how many... That's not a common occurrence, you know?
Yeah, like, even color symmetry is perfect on this. It is unique in that. Like, almost unique. I'm looking at the stuff down the line, and it's basically Deca SWAT, Legend, Die Voyager, Mega Voyager too, but it's a minority of everything where you get that out of them.
But also, each of the parts are their own individual mecha, which is even more insane. You want to?
Yeah, robot mode, which is... That was a first.
Yeah.
No, but sorry. I'm forgetting Muteki Shogun's pieces. It was the second time, but it was the first time it was used as really a super form, a improvement overall for them to do that, except in Power Rangers where they reversed the two. Where it seemed like, no, this is the natural progression.
DJ Toku, damn it, Des, now I want a Stargate / O-Ranger crossover.
That has not been the first time that's been brought up. Even with on like Zeo Power Ranger side, there's an actual fanfic that crosses over Zeo and Stargate. I never actually read it, but I know it exists. Moving on. King Pyramid Battle Formation. Now, because it's externally the same, this counts both the O-Ranger Robo and the O-Blocker combinations. And it's like, in the show, they always made this thing seem like it was absolutely giant. And when you think about it, it's technically tall enough. It is tall enough to stack both component Megazords inside of it at the same time, and only have Red Puncher's cannons shoot over the side.
I would honestly put it on top of acceptable. Because it's a giant pyramid robot, and I think we should give it points in actually making it feel unique. You want to?
But like the other carriers that have a robot form, it's still a brick.
Right, because I think they thought of the they didn't really quite it's like, you know, error loading. Like they were like, okay, we want a pyramid robot, but not really thinking much more past that.
And this would be the second to last time Sentai would do something like this again. The only other time past this being Deca-based. Like, we could count Grandliner in that, but Grandliner at least had component pieces and didn't make itself into a super ultimate gigantic thing.
Pure Crystal using the power of Ancient Egypt!
Yeah, using the power of Ancient Egypt. Okay, Car Ranger. VRV Robo. I have issues with Car Ranger. This thing slaps.
It does. Like, I mean, come on. the fact that it whips out like its main weapons are the arms of a bigger Sentai
of their carrier.
I think it should be given points on that alone, like, because that is metal, right?
Mhm.
Like, that is like heavy metal.
The downside is its personal guns that come in the toy were barely used when you would think like it would be able to pew 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 and be more mobile, but then again, this is the era of Sentai where the suits weren't actually that physically capable of doing a lot of stuff when you got to this, especially, like, you can see how oversized the legs are in the suit.
Yeah.
They could have made those a bit slimmer in the model, even if the toy had the big, beefy, bulky legs.
Mm-hmm. But it slaps.
It slaps. It's hype, but it's not beating...
Dai Shogun.
It's not beating... It's not beating... Yeah.
Yeah.
Here is fine for
yeah.
it. Scramble Intersection Robo. This only showed up in one episode, and yet it fixes part of the issue. A little bit to me. It's
little
still,
bit.
You can still see the leg problem where just the suit legs are just too big.
Yeah.
Then it's like, this was a memorable one on both sides, where they're fighting a bat, and then one mech gets down, and they call the other one, and the other gets down, and then they have to cross it over because the mech have the same combination points. And I think this might have been where the mecha designers past this would start having flashes of inspiration when you get later down the line to anything that can, like, scramble city its limb parts. Yeah, I rate it higher than VRV Robo, personally, but aesthetically I can't go higher. Mega Voyager.
What do you want to, like, where do you want to put it?
It's not beating O-Blocker, but it is beating Daizujin for me.
No, yeah. Because, like, I love how the various pieces of this combination are all space exploration vehicles.
And an astronaut.
And an astronaut. Like, just straight up an astronaut. There should be a mini-plug of this thing already.
Why hasn't there been?
And I kind of think, while its main finisher is a giant rocket.
Which fucks.
Yeah, like, it's simple, but it works. And,
In
like,
fact, it's only missing one thing. A wing pack.
Which, that puts it over.
Yeah. In fact, you could still fold up the wings in this.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Most of the time, if you want to make a robot awesome, just slap a wing pack on it. Like, it just adds so much.
It's just too bad they didn't use it a lot. I think because trying to create flying effects with the physical suit was just too taxing, as proven by Super Kakure Shogun.
But, like, I think if this suit existed now, they would be able to pull this off more.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's likely that they lost the suit for this one as well.
Yeah, but anyways.
Okay. Controversial point, Gingaman does not have a final or ultimate mecha. Auxiliary mech take the role for that series, and the base mech was upgraded with the lights of... Yeah, the shine armor. We already counted that in the base thing because it's just a base mecha upgrade and not a replacement one. But yeah, over on to GoGo 5, we just got the SMP of this a couple weeks ago. Beetle Mars.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying not to let my biases show, so I'm leaving it to you to...
I really like this mode. Like, they used it all of once, which is disappointing, but it does a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put it, right here.
Yeah, acceptable, but... Victory Mars itself... Ooh. Peak, yes.
Yeah, I might move a couple of these up, but this is... Outside of the pink and yellow legs, which Victory Robo has the same thing, it is achieving that same level of aesthetically pleasing detail.
And also, the way everything combines is so satisfying. Like, the fact that it can go straight from the beetle mode, standing up straight, and then bam, it's already in the robot mode. Yeah.
I just realized that the tier list had gotten off page. Yeah, fixed it.
And yes, Cure Crystal, they did call it the Omega Megazord and Lightspeed Megazord, or Lightspeed Rescue, and that slaps as a name.
Yeah. It's like you cannot top that name.
And also the fact that its main weapon is a giant spear that can like not only can fire a rocket at you, but then it then reveals a hidden blade which it then slashes you with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Golden Garl, speaking of those two from Gingaman, do you think they had plans to go Great Might Gain? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Moving on. Riding Time Ranger Robo. Okay, we discussed this in previous lists. Technically, in the show's chronology, this debuts in Go-Go 5 versus Time Ranger, but by debut order of when it first showed up, it showed up in the TV series because the versus film for the two teams came much, much later.
And like I would still say it's acceptable, but conceptually it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I want them to do mini plot. I want them to be able to do it. I want it to be able to dock Time Shadow into this as well for an ultimate combination. And it's a different form of utilizing the Carrier and Sixth Ranger combinations. And the way it's attacked with the Flaming Sword, Shadeb, is just plain badass. But I think it could have done more.
It could have done more.
Probably acceptable.
Yeah.
Just because it's different for doing the combat carrier. Davis Hayden, how is a robot riding a robot dinosaur underwhelming?
Well,
because they only do it twice.
And they don't really do much more with it than that. And it's like in the early days of, again, this is like...
They superimpose the two together, so it's not actually really riding it.
Yeah, you don't really get... It doesn't really sell the illusion.
Yeah, it's clearly a last-minute thing instead of something intentional. Because it was something in the toys they could do that they just hadn't done in the series. But... Yeah.
Look, Gao Icarus fucks. Am I swear? Like, yeah, no. Gao Icarus fucks. It is a falcon, a deer, a giraffe, a rhino, and an armadillo.
It's taking all of the auxiliary limbs and combining them with a new torso that clearly they were intended to be combined with the entire time, but we hadn't seen that yet because of how they had seeded the component pieces throughout the show as progression markers. Like, the spear shows up in episode 7, the legs show up in the early 20s to complete an arc, the deer comes in the late 20s, and then the falcon comes in and completes everything.
Yeah, and like its debut where it flies into the sky and like with the triumphantly pointing its spear up and then like...
With an amazing insert song. Like, Victory Mars didn't use its insert song as effectively as Gao Icarus did. Like, this, the 25th Sentai series is where they really started to understand how to use their insert themes. Like, Go-Go 5 was close. Time Ranger's use of the English version of their main theme for major bombastic combat events, that was great. No, Gao Ranger was where they finally understood how to do insert themes to emphasize the action.
And the fact that it all comes together so perfectly.
And the fact they continue to cross-combine with the other power animals.
Which even create more peak. Like,
another foot and arm is somehow better.
Yeah, because now the color balance is... You get the income...
Because it's giving it an actual weapon. Like, with the alligators... I'm forgetting what Gal Hunter's main weapon is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're involving it, and... Think about it. This is technically the Sixth Ranger combination one for them.
Yeah.
And it's like, think about the number of times where the Sixth Ranger, outside of these true ultimate combinations where they put everything in, actually gets into these things. And of course, there is the last thing that Icarus gave us.
Kentaros. And my god, it is a giant falcon robot with an elephant sword and shield riding a giant robot lion. Like,
this is one of the few times where CGI the entire robot worked because they put the work in.
Yeah. They didn't half-ass it. This was I understand completely why something like this had to be
like, I have my Icarus combined in the Kentaros formation. I don't think it's the best looking of the three. It's just it makes the most sense to combine it like that. It's like the fact that that the Shogun Division did everything, all of these, except for Soulbird. I still want the Soulbird. I want the Power Limb combining Soulbird. I do. But the fact they went through the effort to recreate everything else, we are so grateful for that. Kamen Rider Blackman. How is Kao Kenteros a final mech if no one pilots it? It is. Like, not the first time, the second time. Moving on. Also, it kind of has to be counted here because it doesn't fit anywhere in any of the other lists. But it represents the final combination of everything and every event they've gone through.
Yeah.
Moving on to, I think, the last carrier formation we have. No, there's one other. Revolver Tenrai Senpujin.
Peak.
Yeah.
Look, it is powered by ancient ninja guitars.
This is like one of the last times they did this kind of thing for an ultimate combination, and I love it.
It's so stupid. I love it. Like, not bad stupid. I just mean in the, like, it is a giant revolving elephant mammoth that is firing off weapon balls at you.
It's the put everything together, well, almost everything together mode, and it's like,
it works.
I can't hate it.
And the fact that everything actually does function together, you know?
Yeah, I think that might be one of the hard up parts of when they eventually have to do the SMP of it, because if they're going to do it right, they're going to have to try and retain as many of the gimmicks in this as they can, and that's going to inflate the price, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. But it'll be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on, Max Ryu O.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah, it's another auxiliary mecha combining thing, which is considering the Alba Ranger dinos are an expanded part of the team, because they're some of the first true sentient mecha in Super Sentai. Kind of have to count it this way, even though it's in technicality just an upgraded version of the Red Ranger Superforms mecha. But because other people got to use it, and it represented most of the team coming together, it's got to be here. It's hype.
Yeah. And also the weapons it has is nothing to sneeze at either, you know?
Yeah, especially since they carried them over into the true all the team together combination mecha, Abaren O, which was in all of one episode as the Christmas special combination mecha for the series. There are actually people who don't realize this was a thing, even though it was used in Power Rangers, that keep thinking of Killer Abaren O, which this is upgraded from, that actually showed up in all of the movies.
But I think it goes back to our Stegosaurus problem.
Yeah, the Stegosaurus counts as the carrier. It's a surfboard, and it's uninspired as a toy. Just aesthetically doesn't fit as well like this. Like it's acceptable. It's kind of hype trying to see everything together, but the other part is it can't really wield the weapons it's equipped with from Max Soja.
So I would put it in uninspired.
Unfortunately,
and like again, the thing about this list, chat, is we're talking about like the final mechas. Like these are this is like the final chance for the show to show the best of the best. So hard cuts are gonna have to be made. You wanna...
Yeah. Moving on. Deca Wing Robo.
I love Deca Wing Robo.
I called it SWAT earlier. That was my mistake. They call it the Delta SWAT Robo and SPD.
Yeah, but yeah, Deca Wing Robo. Like
outside of the feet, it's another one where they have the perfect symmetry thing going for them.
Yeah. But I mean, when you look at everything else that it has to be stacked up against,
yeah, it's not beating Mega Voyager.
No, it's not. But it does turn into a giant gun.
It does turn into a giant gun, which is also here. And it fucks.
Yeah. Like, that's like something Chris Yukine pulls out at the end of Civil Gear XV.
The The fact that the entire team can fire the gun to make it even stronger.
It's the Megatron of Super Sentai Robo.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's not beating Victory Mars, even though its debut episode is also them blowing up a giant asteroid. Because it's not putting in the same amount of effort to just shoot the gun.
Yeah.
Maji Legend.
I never really felt anything toward...
I didn't like this thing. Like, Maji King slaps. And then this comes in, and it starts off badly when the combination is a lion running through a bunch of rings to dock with a phoenix, which becomes its backpack, because you can't see the phoenix anywhere else in this thing.
Yeah, and I mean, even as a kid, when I saw this, I kind of felt like it was pulling from something, a completely different aesthetic.
Yeah, so this is, again, uninspired. And honestly, lower on the uninspired than anything else, because, like, everything else the uninspired, they're trying and they're not coming together. Here, it doesn't feel like they really tried. Especially for the final debut mecha for that series. Because otherwise, the upgrade forms for the Maji Ranger, they're fantastic.
Right, but I don't really get that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Blue Sky 38. It was called Manticore and Power Rangers. It doesn't even have a scorpion tail.
Exactly.
The name it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
But again, that's the Power Ranger side, so that we can't count that against this.
But, you know.
Die Voyager.
Oh, Die Voyager. Ooh, I kind of want to put it in peak. But I can't really justify that because...
It has size, it has aesthetic symmetry, but it just has two giant roller punching fists that rotate, and a bunch of cannons it doesn't really use.
And that's all it does. And that's unfortunate because it's a giant battleship mecha, and its debut is awesome, but you'd think it would be doing something more, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Hype is getting crowded, so I'm moving O-Blocker up.
To peak? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think just because of how crowded the list is, we can't say it's doing badly, but it doesn't get us as hyped as others.
So acceptable.
Again, top of acceptable. Again, this is supposed to be the final everything is awesome tier, so while they might work individually and in their series with how they utilize them, when compared, they might not stack as well.
Right.
And I know people are probably going to be irritated at where we're going to the next of the list because I hate these.
Yeah, no, like, I would actually put it in clearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, Geki Rangers, all their combinations just don't do
Nothing works.
Nothing works.
This is Sai-Dai Geki Fire. This is Sai-Dai Geki Toja, which it doesn't work very well either.
No, it doesn't. And then this is just...
Go Ju, which is everything but the Rin Beasts.
And do you know what I hate about this? It's not even really a combination. It's just everything...
It's just everything showing, but the Rin Beasts showing up.
Right, and that's not a combination. That's lazy. This is a culmination of all of Geki Ranger's design flaws. And it's just... Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Kira Crystal, Geki Ranger is a good series. Debatable. I'm not a big fan of it, but that's more because of Jungle Fury. Yeah. But this, however, does not work. Yeah. I actually think this is the best looking of them. This is Sai-Dai Geki Rin Toja, which finally adds in the Rin Beasts. Yeah. And it's amazing how much the aesthetic difference is just by the Rin Beasts being added in. It's still uninspired, but it's better.
Yeah.
But once we're past that...
Engino G-Trophy Grand Prix.
We've been saying with all the Go Andra mecha, they get better the more they combine, because you just have to bask in the ridiculousness of
how absurd a 12-point combination is, and it actually kind of
it aesthetically works,
and it just fucks. I had this toy and I haven't put it back together yet. We found
most of the pieces.
Right. But, it's just the fact that everybody gets to join in on this. You know what I mean? All the engine, I forget what they're called in Go Andra. The fact that nobody's left out. Everybody is together, and it is just so stupid awesome.
DJ Toku, the first and still the best clusterfuck Megazord. It is!
No, you are correct. It is the only time a clusterfuck Megazord actually...
I mean, technically, Revolver Tenrai Senpujin is a clusterfuck because of it adding in all the Karakuris, but that's a carrier where they can cleanly mount them. This is a suit.
Yeah, that is a suit that was made, and they were like, we're doing this. Fuck the suit actor, I guess. Like,
the fact that in series they made sure we can only use this for a few minutes, so they can still use it. It still has a functional suit, but it can't be the main piece for the entire battle, which allowed them to better utilize all of their other suits if they wanted to do a bunch of stuff, which I like. So speaking of clusterfucks, Samurai Ha-Oh. It is the main mech docked to a gigantic chariot backpack that it is in the front of just because of everything.
And when I think of clusterfuck Megazords, negative, I think of this thing.
Yeah, like, you tried. I really like it, but here's the thing.
There's no saving it, chat.
This is the mini-pla version, and you know that it's not docked correctly because the weight of it is so much that the ball joints that make up the hips of these, the connectors on the legs shattered. I'm actually, one of my first projects when I get vacation time is I'm going to go into 3D modeling software and I'm going to cut off these ball joints and make peg connectors for replacement hips to actually be able to assemble this again, because this apparently is a common problem with the mini-pla, where the weight of it is just too much to be able to be handled.
Yeah, and also the girls got shafted.
Yeah, because they barely got to pilot anything, and then just their mechs are folded up in the back.
Yeah, so what the hell?
Yeah, like I feel like they made all the other toys, and then they made the Ushi origami, and they couldn't figure out how to assemble everything with the aesthetic they had. Because up until Ushi, everything was going fine. So yeah, I gotta place it, and it's acceptable. It is Voyager, top of acceptable, except for Voyager. But because they actually use it a lot, which is better than riding Time Ranger Robo. But it's definitely the point where you couldn't... G12 was Refuge and Audacity. This should have been better than it was.
Yeah.
Speaking of better than it was, this actually improves it a lot. I would actually put it in hype just because Kyoryu Origami is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to Gosager. Gosei Ultimate. Yeah.
Look.
Top of clearance because it's aesthetically pleasing,
but I mean, I never liked this thing. Like, its weapons didn't make a lot of sense to me.
They were too thin for its body.
Yeah, they were way too... Like, you look at this thing, and you would think that it would have, like, a giant buster sword, or something heavy-duty, like, something that would look like it could pack a punch. And for something that could turn into a giant flying ship, it should have more firepower, but its weapons are dinky little swords.
Hyper Grand Gosei Great, which is only not on this list because it was a movie mecha, so we put it in the movie list, is a better combination than this, and a better combination of the entire team together, even though it couldn't quite use the proper pieces from Gosei Ground.
SSJ for Jason, Memorial Kyoryu Origami when?
I know, right?
That would actually be...
That would be funny.
That would be funny, yes.
Just because, like, the mini-pla is, like, super dinky. It's like, if they ever do a Memorial Shinkanmaru, I think the name of the sword was, they definitely have to do Memorial Kyoryu Origami. Ultimate Gosei Great is not that ultimate.
No, it's not. It's like, it looked at Mega Winger and was just like...
It's just docking to the back to give it a flight mode, but why does it need a flight mode? Gosei Great has wings already.
Yeah, it's like why is Sonic the Hedgehog driving a car?
I mean, if they ever went to space, this would make sense, but by that point, they were no longer fighting the space aliens.
Yes, so it sucks.
Yeah.
So, also clearance.
Yeah. Like, it's another one of, and then the final mech debuts and makes a mess of things.
Yeah, which is unfortunately going to be a trend.
Yeah. But not for the next series, because Kansen Go Kaio.
You're going to put that up at peak, aren't you?
Of course I am.
Drill arm, rocket fist, pirate, race car robot, like...
Go on. And the fact they make the hat even bigger.
Yeah,
it's like an admiralty hat.
Yeah, it's like now no longer a pirate, they're an official, rank, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And the fact that they can still call out the other support mech for a team-up attack blast, even though they have to do it before they combine, that still looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, over on the Go Busters, we have Go Buster King, which is the great Go Buster plus component pieces plus lion in the center.
And
it is more mobile. It can use the Wagata scissors on its arms, which technically Go Buster Great could do, and it's actually more combat capable than its predecessor, but it is still all the same core pieces. So it's honestly acceptable.
Yeah. Giganto Kyoryujin. Giganto Kyoryujin.
They should have been able to do more with this than they did.
Yeah.
Like, considering they had 2 unused limbs that could swap out for where Zakutor is mounted on the spear. Like, make it a giant long hammer or a dodgeball stick. You know, the playground ones where they have the pole in the ground.
No, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And the fact that it still doesn't use the goddamn drill.
Yeah, poor Amy. Like, you got a drill. Like, the drill's on the wrong hand.
You have a drill arm and you don't use it. How?
Like, that's rude. I mean, it's still nice, but it's rude.
It's top of uninspired.
Yeah, unfortunately. Especially since its main attack is take the back of Bragigas and fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just load all the... Admittedly, that is a cohesive everyone's together on this one.
Right, but at the same time, it feels like for a final combination, everything should be there.
Also, the fact that Gabutira's toes are sticking over the ends of the shoes,
which is just weird.
It doesn't work.
No, but do it really doesn't work. The next one.
Yeah.
All of my hate. All of my bile.
Tokyuger and Ninja are the whipping boys of this list. Zenkaiger is too, but everybody hates Zenkaiger. No, this is where everything went. This is where, for just Toei's designs throughout the 2010s, they kept going wrong.
This is just aesthetically this is a travesty. This is a shit tier mech that
she likes trains. She can't stand this thing.
This thing sucks because it is supposed to be a grand train station going into battle, and all you fucking decided to do with it is slap a bunch of lines on it.
I got the mini-pla of this just because I wanted to collect all the mini-pla from Go Onjar onwards, and this thing is the absolute worst. Like, even worse than Shinkender's, even... the only competitor is Zenkaiger's.
And just, oh my god. Like, this is the thing that I can't understand when people say they like Tokyuger, because how can you look at this shit and think it's imaginative when all it is just a giant brick with lines on it?
Yeah.
Like, I can't like, in a series all about expressing creativity and opening up your mind and stuff, I could have gotten something more imaginative out of a cereal box.
Yeah. And it's like, there's as Blue Sharky 38 said in the chat, so many leftover parts. Yeah, what are you supposed to do with those? Like, with no other Ultimate Combination mech, was there that much left over?
Yeah.
Not a single one.
It just sucks. It fucking sucks. I hate it. hate it.
It's why I keep saying that Tokyuger doesn't showcase imagination. It showcases delusion more than the Akiba Ranger, because the Akiba Ranger were actually imaginative with the way they would resolve problems in their series.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Tokyugers, it's a first thing that pops in their head that is in any way potentially executable. Like, there are a few exceptions to that. The one episode where the blue member is going to die because of a shadow line ability, and then he image trains himself to type in the extension that allows him to live past that point using the Monster Stone abilities against them. I like that, but that is the rare exception with that series. And I honestly think it's all roots back to Yasuko Kobayashi being overworked, Tokyuger being the series that burned her out.
Yeah, and just, oh god, it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, but you want to see more of Lexi, raking something over the coals? Fuck the chair, fuck the chair, fuck the chair. The chair fucking sucks. Darkseid would not want to sit in this chair because it's so fucking stupid. Why did they think that a giant lion robot chair was an aesthetically pleasing idea? What the fuck, Toei?
Chairception.
I fucking hate the chair. I heard you like chairs. No, I don't fucking like chairs. I may be sitting in one, but I don't actually like them.
Chair. Sitting in chair. Sitting in chair. Sitting in chair.
You.
Yeah, this thing is terrible. It is probably the worst of the carrier mechs. It's still better than Tokyo Rainbow. Hell, I'd say it's better in a better aesthetic combination than Geki Ranger's final combination, even with all the rest of the stuff in the
like,
Ninja
I hate that you're right on that, because like, at least this is trying to go for something. You know, it still sucks ass, but it's still going for something.
Yeah, it's like, I'm amazed. I got the mini-plot for this, but it was the single hardest mini-plot of all the old mini-plot I collected that year to find. Engine G12 was far easier. People still distributed like that. No one, but for the mini-plot for this, it was probably one of the best mini-plot of the Ninja line. No one bought it. So it is nearly impossible to find in the aftermarket.
Media Hood, Darkseid would rather take the throwaway chair from the local dump than sit on this thing.
Yeah. And the other problem with it is, unlike all the other chariots where you could feasibly put a different mech in the toy, they don't actually fit in this if they try to. Like, they try to do it with Tokyo and in the crossover movie for that, but you can't do that. You can't realistically do that with the toys. They don't fit, and they don't fit with the mini plot. So that failure to accommodate cross compatibility, like other people would like to appreciate with the other ones that they would try, and some of them would work, some of them would fit, others wouldn't, but it doesn't work with anything else outside of course, the other mecha in the Ninja line.
Media Hood reviews. Chair idiots.
Yes, we were aware of the pun. That is also part of its failure. This, however, I think is a little bit better, simply because of their shuriken helmet going into this to make a third cannon, but it's still bad.
Still bad. Still dog shit.
Yeah. Also, the phoenix on the top actually adds a bit more to the aesthetic, but it's not getting higher.
Like, listen, I know I try to be mispositive with these lists and stuff, but this is the final mech is like I said, your chance for the show to go out on a high note, and instead of a high note, this is going off on a wet fart.
Shoot, I fucked up the list again.
What did you do?
Forgot Gekiyatsu Daio. We didn't actually do that in previous lists, did we? My brain just completely skipped it. Thank you, chat.
Okay, to be fair, it sucks, so...
Yeah, so let me just pull that image quickly.
Oh god, it's so...
Yeah, yeah, my mind mentally blanked, even though...
Like, it was trying to protect yourself.
Yeah. Let me just get it on the list in the proper place.
Execution.
That is on me. need to reload the playlist.
Fast forward.
Past this part. Never play this part again. Okay, there we are. Gekiatsu Daio. Again, it's still terrible, but it's better. With regards to the regards to just the Sentai Robo and everything they do for that series, in a way it reminds me of what was going on with the Kaku Ranger mechs, where the first one's the weapon wielder, the second one is just there for martial arts punching.
Execution.
Yeah, it still deserves it because the finishing move for it is just shooting the
Who
Sentai members
in the
out of the
hell
car of it.
thought that shooting out your own pilots would be a good idea for a finisher? The point of the mech is for you to pilot it, not fling yourself out like a damn lemming!
President, none of them got killed from that.
Exactly! It's stupid!
In fact, Ninja Steel made it worse by making the finishing move for the mech actually show up before they debuted the mech, just because of how they rearranged the footage, and that did not work. That did not work at all. Video reviews. The flames on Gekiatsu Daio somehow go overboard with the flames, and it doesn't do enough with them. How is that possible? Because they made Takaharu's catchphrase try to be the thing about the show, but it flamed itself out so badly, unintended on that everybody hated it.
It's hot.
No, it's cold.
It's cold.
It's ice cold.
Yours cold.
Yeah. Again, this final combination is better, but it's still bad.
Crystal Alexis as a bridge Frieza. That's stupid. You're stupid. Stop being stupid.
Okay. Controversy time. Wild Tosai Dodeka King sucks.
Yeah.
I love Wild Tosai King. This doesn't work. This does not work. The final mech, the auxiliary mech just becoming the torso and then all the blocks stacked on his legs. No. The auxiliary mech becoming the additional arm weapons. No. Only part of Rhino going in the chest while the rest of it can't do anything. It's the leftover parts problem again. So
yeah.
No.
And also, again, the fact that the feet don't even look right. It's like it feels.
They should have stopped it one earlier and turned the whale into a cannon.
Yes.
Or made it be rideable.
It's the legs. Yeah, the legs.
It's the legs.
The legs.
I really like Wild Tosai King, but it's telling where they get this, and then they go to the Versus movies, and then they do Versus movies singular because they didn't cross over with Q Ranger, and then they don't do anything with it. And speaking of horrible aesthetics,
sorry.
Again, Q Reno, fantastic mech, but the more you combine it, the worse it gets.
It's the reverse Enchino.
Yeah. So this is uninspired, unfortunately, because the realistic thing is, if you trade out the Kyutama, this is technically just a combination of the two Reds mecha. Like, that's what I actually did with the mini plot. One of the mini plus sets has a bunch of spare mini Kyutamas to swap in with everything, and they are specifically designed so you can make Kyutama Gene on its own, you can make the Dragon combination on its own, subbing in Cerberus, and you can make the Super Q-Reno combination on its own, so you have 3 separately standing Super Q-Ranger mecha on their own. That's how I handled all of this.
The Christmas sword, so many balls.
Yeah, and yet Q-Ranger series that has no balls because it just copied other better things.
Guys, stop saying Kyutama, because I just got the ending song of Q Rangers flashed into my head.
Yeah, you see why it's so terrible that they had to censor it?
Yeah, like, oh god, I remember it. Ah, I don't want to remember it.
Yeah. And then Q-Tamagene wielding the Orion Bazooka as the actual final combination of the series, which the Orion Battler just sucked in general.
Yeah.
It's aesthetic. I get what they were trying to do as a play pattern. It didn't work.
No.
This is in that era where whoever's doing the designing of the Sentai mecha, you need to be sent to have a different job.
You need to be sent to a dark hole.
Because you're trying to accommodate the gimmick so much that
everything else is suffering.
Everything else is suffering.
Mm.
Like, I know why they didn't use Q Ranger very much in Cosmic Fury, and that's because, like, it failed across the board. People really like the Sentai team suits, yes, but if you actually pay attention to everything else it did, it was terrible. There was no way they were feasibly going to be able to adapt it. The only thing that flailed on the Power Ranger side is the original stuff they did for Cosmic Fury was incredibly worse. Like, I hate the Cosmic Fury suits. They are the worst thing that have ever been done for
either
side of the franchise. I know the Team Red on that wanted her suit. I don't know if she actually got it from the auction or not, of all the Power Ranger stuff, and I get why she wanted it. I don't diss her efforts in trying to get it or wanting to have the retention of just it as a positive memory in her life. But it's not a good suit. It screenshot bad. It filmed bad. I watched the clips with the audio off because the audio issues with Samurai Onwards Power Rangers are just fucking terrible. But they didn't work. The Q Ranger suits would have been better, and the Q Ranger suits are terrible. She didn't get it. Yeah, that's unfortunate for her.
That's really, like, okay, again, personal feelings on the suits and everything aside, it is extremely messed up that, like, the actors could be part of that show, work their butts off to try to do something, you know, try to put their best foot forward, and they're not even given the courtesy to, like, take their suit home. You know?
Yeah.
It's like the Princess Shayla, like, turn in your team jackets thing.
They will unfortunately have to commission someone to make it for them now if they want to retain it, which is unfortunate because it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I heard about Brendan Mejia. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And Yoshi Sudarso, after they wrapped up filming, going over to the prop department to see if they couldn't get it, and then walking in on the prop team shredding the spare suits. Which is like, that's just bad planning.
Yeah, and also, why?
Yeah, because if they have to bring them back for anything, they kind of want to have spare suits just for filming, because, oh look, they brought them back because they eventually tried to do a "we're sorry" thing, with them adapting Kyoryuger versus all the other Dino teams. Like, hey, you could have probably saved yourself a bunch of effort if you hadn't destroyed your own productions. But yeah. Q Ranger sucks. The mechs get worse as they combine.
Put it in.
Yeah. It's worse.
It's worse.
Because it's, at least for Ninja, it's an actual combination instead of just setting up the goddamn bazooka.
And also we're seeing here, like, how things for a final combination can get so wrong.
Yeah. In fact, by comparison, Good Feeling Kaiser actually is better to an extent, even though it's the first time they went full CGI. Now, again, for people who are coming in and haven't seen the previous tier lists, Good Feeling Kaiser debuts in the mid-20s, but it technically counts as the final combination mech because it's the combination of the entire Lupat team. Because, you know, usually they're segregated. Even in Sentai stuff right now, we're going into Gozuger, which is now being counted as the 50th Sentai team, rather the 50th anniversary series because debut year. And when you think about it, it actually makes sense to count it as the 50th team because Lupin Ranger, Pat Ranger, 2 teams in a single series. It's technically 50 Sentai teams if you actually count it that way. Thus, this is technically by that categorization a crossover mech, but because this is everybody coming together in the same series, that's why it has to be the final combination mech, or rather the ultimate combination mech, because it's putting everything together.
Yeah, but honestly, I think it works.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I don't
Okay.
think it's great.
the baton being open on the pink smack on the side, that's what
bit
doesn't
silly.
fart.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. That should have been retracted. In fact, in the mini plot I do have it retracted because that don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, this is acceptable. And here's the thing about this. It's the only ultimate combination mech that can still do armaments outside of Gal Ranger, I should specify. That can still do armament swapping.
Apparently it's actually called Good Cool Kaiser.
Okay. Cool is not actually cool. It's Kuru. It's a lot of people didn't get this because cool is actually spelled differently in Japanese than the term they used. The term they used is kuru, which translates as feeling, which matches with Good Striker's catchphrase they used throughout the series, where he said, "I have a good feeling about X." So him putting all of them together, Good Kuru Kaiser translates as Good Feeling Kaiser. Half the teams that translated Lupat did not get this. Seriously, from the fact that if you actually put it into translations, the phrase cool into translation software, you get a different term out than what Lupat was using, should have been the tip-off for these people.
Anyways.
But yeah, it's acceptable, but we have cross combinations. So you have Good Feeling Kaiser, Strong Biker. Yeah.
It's alright.
Good Feeling Kaiser, Cyclone Knight. To be fair, this is retaining the combinations from the lesser terms.
Yeah. I want to put it in uninspired because I hate the copter.
Yeah, the copter was the weak point on that.
Yeah.
And also, I guess it doesn't help that the Sentai Wiki also does not retain this information. It does in the notes, but not in the primary name of the mech. So I guess that can confuse people as well. And this is Splash Magic off of the higher tiers. And then they don't use the Victory or Siren Kaiser strikers as swap-ins for this, which is weird. I kind of feel like that's better, but not as good as the original.
Mm-hmm.
And then them wielding the Magnum, which is all sorts of ridiculousness because they had to CGI the entire thing in. Technically, the entire thing is a CGI mech, but
I think it still works. Not by much, but
not by much.
But it at least it's.
Yeah, it's still acceptable for what they're trying to do for it. It's the tail end of acceptable for a reason.
Hmm.
In fact, since acceptable is getting so crowded, I will yield to the chat and start moving them down to uninspired. Just rebalancing it because we still have to go on a bell curve with this. Okay. Moving on. King Kyoryujin.
No, you said Kyoryujin is King
Kishiryuo. Why did I say that? King Kyoryujin is a different thing. We already did that one.
I like this guy.
Yeah, no, it slims it down, which is unfortunate because there's a bunch of stuff left over. But by the terms of stuff left over, it's in all the other mecha that could technically combine into this are still doing their own separate thing. They're not left out and left over. Outside of the top half of Tiramigo and the bottom half of Yokuryuo, which are nowhere, which admittedly docks some points, but it's still freaking peak.
Yeah, and it also combines sea, land, and earth.
Skyland Sea.
Yeah, Skyland Sea.
It's always a good combination.
Bottom of
But
peak.
I get them just slimming it down to make a better aesthetically pleasing combination than try to shove everything in. Because, let's face it, a bunch of times to them trying to shove everything in results in the clearance listing. But
God, I hate you. I hate you.
Just by default, donate. Zenkaidra's mech sucked.
They sucked. Like, I understand Loop Hats going CGI, but by this point, you would think, okay, maybe we could actually make it a suit. No, they didn't make it.
And no, and what's worse is, this is awful CGI. This is genuinely terrible CGI. Good Feeling Kaiser was animated better than this. Its model was genuinely more detailed than this. And this is like, it's default donate. I know we usually wait to go through the list, but no.
No, it sucks.
No.
If somebody looks at you dead in the eye and says they like this thing, which I'm not even bothering to remember the name of, if they say they actually genuinely like this and they are a replicant, they are lying to you.
Zenryoku Zenkaio. Zenryoko being able to be translated as absolute.
There's only one Zenryuku. Hey, I only know Zenryuku King. Oh, Blue Sharky. Oh, it was so bad. They apparently must have seen Senkaiser.
Yeah, it's like, I got the mini plot. I don't have it combined into this because it is that awful. Golden Girl, those means of girls in Transformer suits is any indication they could have actually tried with this. Yeah, sweets. Yeah, it's like, nothing survives Zenkaiger.
No.
Like, Kyuranger was bad, Zenkaiger was worse.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, like, these series, like, I think they broke the CGI mecha thing, because Good Feeling Kaiser was okay. What they do for Gauranger stuff was minimalistic, but still well handled. But you get to Zenkaiger and then Dawn Brothers, and it's like, no, people hate CGI now because it's so bad and unnecessary. And why the hell would you do this? And
oh god, it's so gaudy.
For as good as base Oni Taijin was, the fact that Toradora Oni Taijin Kiwami, the fact that every time they tried to combine it, it got worse.
Yeah, it's just...
And a large part of that was because of the CGI.
It's just so ugly. It's like, I don't feel good looking at this.
It's not as bad as some of these others, but because they're trying, and you still have elements of good mecha in there, but Toradora was not well designed, and I think that broke it. Oni Taijin Kiwami on its own is better, or Goldan Oni Taijin, but it's Toradora that breaks it, even though they give it the feet, but the arm extension's like, no.
I'm Omega. King Oger did it better.
Yeah, speaking of peak
of peak.
20 mech combination clusterfuck, and it works.
Oh my god, it works. It's God King Oger.
Yeah, it's God.
It is a god tier super robot 20-point combination mech that has guns. It has fists. It has, weapons for days. It punched out a giant intergalactic reality warping space bug.
And they upgraded it to literally be able to fight Tegan Toppa Gurren Lagann, the Getter Emperor, and Mazinger Zero. This is like the only thing that competes with those guys. Like, also, King of Ruin Gao Gaigar, like when it's powered by the power of Saturn, and then maybe docking that with Goldie Marg after that to get the super giant hand. But it is the only thing that literally competes with the most powerful mecha in expanded multiversal media.
It is the only Super Sentai mech I could think of that could actually be in a Super Robot Wars game, and you wouldn't have to fudge anything. No, it is just built different. It is so freaking good.
Is of Wonders. I've made it clear throughout these lists that we do not count Boon Boonger because Boon Boonger is not over, and we will be doing an update list for these when it is over, and or alternatively, right before we do Villain Mecha. I have not changed this since we started this list. If you have watched any of the previous ones, you know this. This is not difficult to understand. We even earlier, we already mentioned Champion Robo and how we're not including it on this list. How is this hard to understand? Yeah. Rest of the chat going crazy about it. You can also DJ Cook. You can also mix the Kabuto Castle with Hercules robots and Tarantula Abyss. Yeah, and they even released gold versions of all the support mecha, so you can do a full black and gold version of this, which is even more aesthetically pleasing, since they did not. DJ Toku, when does Boon Boonger end anyways? When every other Sentai ends. Beginning of the year, next year over.
Anyways.
Yeah. Wizard Wonder, sorry I did not tune into that stream. They're replayable on our webpage, and literally the only reason you would not is if you did not watch any of the fucking others. Stop arguing on this, you fucked up. Misty Spring, how can you top this and a crossover could destroy everything? Mainly because they can't go, like, the super perfect ultimate great giant one without destroying the mecha, which is kind of the weak point on that, but hey,
yeah,
the mecha can be rebuilt afterless.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, if God King Oger, or King Oger in general, was in a Super Robot Wars, in every Super Robot Wars, by, like, the the last 10 stages of the game, that's when you start unlocking, like, the super busted stuff, like we're talking end of series God Fist type stuff. So, so I could see, like, that final punch they delivered to, Dog Dead as, like, their final attack. You know, like, something that they would whip out in stage 50.
Mm-hmm. It's like, it would fit so perfectly for a, Super Wars anything, but this is also a reason why we have to sometimes adjust this back, because when you think about it, God King Oger showed up in the middle of the series just because of how they were basing everything, and then you had a bunch of late-end King Oger where they didn't use the mech in this anything at all because they got the advertisement out of the way, and yet from reports it still sold well throughout because they were continuing to advertise the mecha in the right and the other contents of the show in the correct ways. And yeah, peak is going to be difficult to what we decide on what is the absolute best, because that's the other thing that DJ Toku brought up. I feel bad for the suit actor, though. It must be heavy as hell, because everything together, this is still a physical suit.
The fact that it is a physical suit, meaning...
And the fact they actually got a fair amount of mobility out of this still, even after the combination.
Like, that's insane. That is, like, some technical prowess right there.
Like, it's the extension of just everything that's ever been done for Sentai over 40 years. Well, about to be 50.
Okay, but, let's decide... I think it's easier to decide who else to throw in to donate.
Yeah, because then Kydra's kind of just defaulted there.
I'm throw Tokuger under the bus.
Yeah.
Kill it.
Kind of have to. Golden Gar, could King Kyoryuji replace the Kawagata? That is actually a good question, because they have common dock points. They just wouldn't be able to dock everything because of different arm connectors. But that's basically the only major difference. I think it actually could be done more with the mini plug than the DX toys.
But peak. Oh, poor peak.
Yeah, it's like,
who is...
Because Gao Icarus is... Okay, we can actually have two for this, because one is ultimate, one is final. So, God King Oger, clearly the GOAT. So, Engine G12 otherwise tops it for ultimate combinations. I kind of want to give it to Icarus.
And I know, chat, you're probably thinking to yourselves, alright, Alexis loves Go-Go 5, she loves the Lightspeed Rescue, she's gonna be fighting for Victory Mars. No, not this time.
Because Victory Mars Shine Armor beats base Victory Mars.
Right, but also, Gao Icarus is, like, from how it was set, like, from all, taking its separate unit pieces from across the show, and then pulling it all together in the moment that it did, that is final mecha tier stuff. You know what I mean? Like that is what you're supposed to do. Like I'm saying, like I would put it up there and go.
Yeah, specifically the another foot and arm combination. Yeah. Arm and foot. One of those. Gout Icarus another. Jesse Springer, how is Akiba Ranger official enough for crossovers but still unofficial?
I think that's part of the joke.
Akiba Ranger was only supposed to be its own specific thing, and then Shirakura got involved, and then suddenly Zenkaiger utilizes them.
For some reason. Listen, Shirakura is like the enemy of our...
Shirakura is the enemy of good entertainment.
If you think... Like, let's not beat a dead horse, because, I mean, that horse has been thoroughly beaten. But suffice to say, that guy, if he's a liar. If he says he's all for good storytelling and yada yada, look at his track record and the things that he's attached to, and really ask yourself, is this actually legitimately good? Because 99% of the time...
99% of the time, if something is good and he was involved, it's in spite of him, not because of him.
Right. But yeah.
And he basically filled upward to the position he has now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's this list. Next time, because there is a next time, we will see about updating for prior lists for Boon Boonger. That is a time sink because I have to rebuild all of these lists in advance. And then we have a villain mecha one because we actually have a archive of villain mecha that someone made a while back that we can mine for what was a piloted mecha on the villain side. Not just the current trend of dark shadow mecha like Boon Boon Killer Robo or Black Zenkaio or just anything that goes back down that line. But there's just a bunch of them where it's a pilot mecha and we don't really think about it as a piloted mecha or retain the knowledge of it off the cuff. Especially early Sentai where there's been less subtitling and access to it.
Okay, I gotta read this off. DJ Toku, a horse is dead as Epona. I'm sorry, Epona. I didn't mean to leave you on that bridge. I'm sorry.
Reference to our Twilight Princess streams.
Video is a horse is dead as Artex. Oh my! Why would you go there? No, not Artex. Never ending story.
I was assuming that was it. I could not remember. But yeah, that's it for us. We're going to go play with these swords before we start hunting down Rayquaza in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because we still need to do that before the event ends. Unless it has already ended and we missed it, in which case we will be kicking ourselves because Rayquaza is awesome. See you guys later. We're probably doing more Ratchet & Clank next week. Bye!
Bye!